And again, our thanks to Jason Carroll for that. Now we do want to go to this. The suspect charged with shooting and killing 11 people in a Pittsburgh synagogue pleads not guilty and also requests a jury trial. CNN correspondent Jean Casares is on the story from Pittsburgh. Jean, this as two more funerals today, a married couple of 60 years, just devastating. What happened inside the courtroom?
Susan, we are right down here. It's the federal courthouse right across the street. Important proceeding today. It was the arraignment. And this U.S. Attorney's Office is moving so quickly here in Pittsburgh. He just had his initial appearance on Monday, went to a grand jury, and now 44-count indictment. Well, I was in the first row, so I was able to really see very well. And the defendant walked in. He wasn't wheeled in today. He had a red prison jumpsuit on. He was shackled on his ankles, shackled at his waist level, and then handcuffed. When he got close to the defense table, one of the federal law enforcement officers went and actually took a key and undid the handcuffs. He sat down. He nodded at the federal law enforcement, nodded at his two public defenders. They began to talk with him. He was very aware of what they were saying. He acknowledged it, whatever they were saying to them. And then the arraignment began. And that was the assistant U.S. attorney stood up, one of the two, and began to read the charges in the indictment. And there are 44 of them. So they went through just the different sections because there are so many charges on one federal crime. For instance, the intentional obstruction by force of the exercise of your religious beliefs resulting in death. That is one of the main ones right there that potentially is a death penalty crime. And he turned his body. He was sitting down, but he listened, and he was very attentive as those charges were read out to him, acknowledged them, nodding. He did a lot of nodding. And then the male assistant U.S. attorney stood up and began to tell him the possible penalties. There were so many death penalty possible crimes here. And he once again nodded. Finally, the assistant district attorney, federal U.S. attorney said, "Do you acknowledge and understand all the possible penalties?" That was the nod, very exaggerated. And Susan, when I first looked at him in court, you don't know what he's thinking. You don't subjectively know what's going on in that mind. But I saw sort of a smug look when he first walked into the courtroom. And then as he was listening to all of the charges, I was able to see his side view rather clearly. And I just saw sort of, from my vantage point, a dark look to him. And the judge asked the prosecutor, once we go to trial, how long will it be? Prosecutor said 3 to 4 weeks. But if the Attorney General of the United States certifies this as a death penalty case, it will be longer, Susan.
To see someone that close who shattered so many lives, it's just chilling to me. Have you seen anyone from the community in that area, Jean?
No, it was a packed courtroom, but I really scanned the courtroom. And of course, I don't know who everyone is, but It appeared as though a lot of media were there. And Susan, I want to tell you, he entered a plea, but it's not his formal plea. It was just sort of customary in this proceeding. You can enter a plea. So there was a plea of not guilty. He requested a jury trial, but now the case is bound over to U.S. District Court, where there will be in time a formal plea by the defendant.
Yeah, I think the community is honoring those who lost their lives senselessly, as we would imagine they would. Jean Casares, appreciate it. Thank you.